everyone, welcome back to my channel. I am very excited for this video today. So we are going to be talking all about the new Bookbolt Design Studio. I'm honestly really excited about this because I personally think that Bookbolt has been needing a little bit of a revamp. So when I heard that this was happening, I got really excited because I know that this is going to be a total game changer. You all know how much I absolutely love Canva. Canva is my favorite graphic design tool ever. But Bookbolt may be a bit of a contender now, which is what I am really excited to look into. Essentially, I'm going to be comparing and contrasting the new Bookbolt Design Studio with the old Bookbolt Designer and talking about how it stacks up with Canva. So this is going to be somewhat of a review / tutorial. And spoiler alert, I think this tool is really awesome. And it's definitely got a lot of stuff that the old Bookbolt Designer doesn't have, a bunch of stuff that even Canva doesn't have, and you are going to need a Bookbolt subscription to access it. And if you don't already have one, make sure to head to the link in the description and use my coupon code Sarah20 to get 20% off your first month. Bookbolt is one of my favorite tools for low content books and now for designing as well. It used to mostly just be for keywords and research, but now I think it's amazing for designing. So I'd highly recommend it. Make sure to go down and click the link in the description to go and check it out. So now let's get right into the video. All right, so first things first, where on earth do you find this new Bookbolt Design Studio? If you hop over to create, you'll see the old Bookbolt Designer, and if you go ahead and click on it, it'll bring you again to the old Bookbolt Designer. But here's the trick. Go ahead and close this box, and right up here, you almost can't miss it. We've got this huge red button that says try the Bookbolt Studio. This right now is how you're going to want to access the new Bookbolt Design Studio. Here inside the old Bookbolt Designer, you can still use it, though Bookbolt is working on phasing this out. So you're going to want to move over to the Bookbolt Design Studio, and it's also a lot more awesome anyway. So go ahead and click this lovely button to get started. All right, here is where you're going to be pulled up to. As long as you have a Bookbolt account, you'll be able to access the new Bookbolt Design Studio. So go ahead and put in your login info, or if you don't yet have an account, head down, click the link in the description, and use my coupon code Sarah20 for 20% off your first month of Bookbolt, one of my favorite tools, and they just keep adding more to it, making it a very cost-effective option for your KDP business. All right, so go ahead and put in your login info. All right, and now here's where we start off. New project. First off, look how sleek this looks compared to this. I am obsessed with the new interface here. It just looks so professional. Anyway, so project type, here's probably one of the biggest differences, and it's really cool. So we've got paperback, we've got hardcover, and we've got custom, but the coolest thing here is that we can design our cover and interior at the same exact time, which is something the old Bookbolt Designer absolutely could not do. We could choose either a cover or interior, and this is also something that Canva definitely can't do. So if you want to design both of them at once, this is awesome. Helps you streamline the whole process. So I'm going to go ahead and select that. Project name, this is just so you can refer back to it later. Go ahead and select it if you are working on multiple projects at the same time. And a feature that was highly requested of Bookbolt that they added. So before, you could only access your other projects through your web cache, so you weren't able to do it on different computers just by logging in. But now, logging in, you'll have access to all your projects no matter what computer you're on, which is awesome, so you don't have to worry about losing it. Project name, I'm just going to go ahead and call it test. Trim size 6x9, black and white tier with white paper. I love how these are the two that are automatically selected because they are the most commonly used. Bleed, I almost always go with bleed. Page count 120, that's always a good number for notebooks. And now you're going to go down here and click create project. All right, one thing first off that I think is so cool is this literally took like 3 seconds to pop up. Over here, if I try and do the same thing on the old one, it can take a couple minutes is what it says, even though it's kind of strange given it doesn't have that much to do. Over here, it generated 120 pages as well as a cover. So it's awesome just how fast it's able to pull this up. You're not wasting any time whatsoever. And now another thing that is way cool is that here they automatically put in the KDP cover. The KDP cover calculator will load for you, but then over there you'd have to download it, you'd have to unzip the file, you'd have to stick it in here. Bookbolt just does it right for you. And comparing with the old designer, it is just so much more helpful. They give you all the info. You know, we've got the barcode over here. It's kind of easy to tell where the middle is as well. And this is just a little too simplistic. It gives you slight guidelines, but not enough to be really helpful. And it might be kind of annoying to design with this cover template here, which I can't blame you. All you have to do is come over here to cover template opacity. You can make it a lot less visible, or you can just hide it all together. It's totally up to you. I'm going to leave it at 25 for now. And another thing, if you did a lot of work with the book bolt designer, you probably found it a little bit annoying how it's kind of hard to tell where the middle is here. You're able to do this whole layer position thing here, but it doesn't really work with the middle of your book right here, and it doesn't give you any grid lines to my knowledge, which makes it a little hard if you're a bit of a perfectionist like me. But over here in the book bolt studio, we've got down here grid lines. We can add a horizontal line, we can add a vertical line. The vertical line isn't as helpful because it's just at the spine, but if we go to add grid, we can choose how many columns we want. 4 is the automatic one. I think this is the best one to go with, but you can go with something a little bit larger if you want it to be a bit more detailed. So I'm gonna go with 4 and say with the rows 4, and here is what we got, which makes it even easier to tell where the middle is. And we can come over, for example, to shapes, say we want this crown. And the coolest thing is because we added this grid here, it automatically moves this crown so it snaps to the grid. So now we're pretty much certain that this is in the middle, as opposed to Canva where you're kind of just hoping for it. Even in the old book bolt designer, book bolt has given you a new level of perfectionism that you can hold yourself to. However, if you don't want to snap it, you can pretty much customize it any way you want. You don't have to snap it, you can snap it, up to you. So that's probably one of the coolest things already, just how much easier it is to design books. And I'm probably late to mention this, but isn't this interface gorgeous? It is just so sleek, especially compared to this old one that's kind of dreary. The new studio, I just love how it's so minimalist. And just like in the old designer, you can go ahead and change your color to however you want it to be. You can even go ahead and use the color dropper, make it black, for example. Let's say I want this pretty color. And now I'm actually going to go ahead and get rid of the KDP Cover Template entirely, which does make it a little bit easier to see exactly how my finished design will look, but I can always add it back if I want to. And looking at these settings up here, it will automatically save for you. Let me just move the crown really quick. You'll see it says unsaved. It'll automatically save eventually. See, it just saved. Or you can go ahead and manually save if you would prefer. And now I'm just going to go through all of the different options over here on this sidebar for what we can do and how it compares to the old book bolt designer, as well as my favorite tool, Canva. So first off, we've got elements, which if you remember before, we had shapes. There were not a ton of shapes. Over here in elements, there are a bunch more. And one thing I found was interesting in the old shapes in the book bolt designer, a lot of them I feel like were a little bit too complex. Like here we've got a griffin, but over here in the new book bolt design studio, they've got a lot more simpler ones. Diamond, we've got a paw print, we've got some cute stars, some cute shapes that you can play with that were not over here in the old book bolt designer. I hope they add more shapes in the future, but this is a lot to work with. And we've got more than just making it bigger or smaller. If you want to make it skinnier, you've got so many different options. And now we're going to move over to text. I haven't seen a ton of difference in text compared to the old book bolt designer. It feels like it's a lot simpler, but at the same time it isn't. I'm going to show you. So first off, let's go ahead and grab a heading. Let's just move my crown down, put the heading up here. So one thing you might notice is that it looks like there are fewer options compared to the options that we had before. However, a lot of those options are actually still there. For example, if we grab the bridge, see beforehand, it looked like there were 6 different bridges, but here there's 1 different bridge. However, we can customize that bridge like pretty much any way we want. Just coming over to the bridge text effects. I'll be honest, I see this as kind of bittersweet just because it gives you a lot of customizability, but overall, I find it a little overwhelming that we can edit so much. So when you're editing this, you are absolutely going to want to make sure that you can see it so that you know what you're changing. So to get exactly what you want, you're just going to have to keep fiddling with it because it's kind of hard to understand what is going to do what. It does certainly give a lot of fun options and we can change it in so many different ways. Like it's insane. As you can see, I just created this little horror. Super fun, right? So kind of just what I'm feeling. I love how there are a bunch more options, a lot more customizability, but I almost feel like there's too much customizability even compared to Canva. For example, with this circular text here in Canva, you can pretty much just decide how much of a radius you want, but here we can change it to ellipse and we can change the radius even more. And it feels like you have to keep fiddling with it until you find exactly what you want. We've also got inside, outside. I like how you can switch that around. That's awesome. And one thing I heard with the baseline, one thing that a lot of people complained about with the old book bolt designer is that it can look kind of funny, and moving it around like it doesn't look like it's very evenly spaced. If you find that's the case, you just come down here to baseline, switch it up to middle, and it looks a lot better, or even the top, but you're probably going to want to stick with the middle. That seems to look the most even, at least in my opinion. And then of course we've got all the same settings. We've got pretty much all the same fonts, all the same Google fonts, possibly updated with the newer Google fonts. And you can also add in your own fonts. I don't remember if that's the way it used to be. I don't think it is. Yeah, if for example you're over at Creative Fabric and you find a really cute font you want to use, as long as you have the .ttf file, you can upload it and use it inside of Bookbolt. And you can save your favorite fonts right here, which is really helpful because there are a ton of fonts to choose from. And if you are having a hard time remembering the ones that you love, because let's be honest, they have weird names. Amaranth, who's gonna remember that? But if you really want to remember it, go ahead and heart it and it'll be there until you don't want it there anymore. So essentially, if I were to sum up text, I'd say it's somewhat simplified, but at the same time, it has a lot more customizability compared to the old Bookbolt designer. And it has a lot of customizability that even Canva doesn't have, which could be a good thing, could be a bad thing, depending on how complex you want to get with your books. And now we're going to head over to files. Essentially, it's the same as images. We've got your image library. It's basically the same as the old Bookbolt designer. I don't see any real differences here. You can upload, you've got resources, same with Pixabay integrated, just like so. If anything, I say it just looks a lot sleeker. And here you have to search Pixabay for anything to pop up, but here it just pops up, I'm guessing, a lot of popular designs automatically, a lot of random stuff. So if anything, the image library is just a million times more user-friendly, entirely same concept. All right, we're gonna come back to page templates because I'm gonna keep playing around with the cover right now, but that's a really cool one, so stick around for that. And now we've got make pattern. This is probably one of the coolest things. One of my favorite things about Bookbolt, just how easy it is to make a pattern. Cannot do that inside Canva. It'll make a pattern with whatever you selected. So I've selected this circular text. Let's see what nightmare Bookbolt creates with it. Beautiful. So here we've got our own little pattern. Honestly though, I do want to say it can be fun to make a pattern with text. Like if you have the word unicorn, for example, and you've got other little designs interspersed, it can be really cute. So here we can go ahead and just keep making it bigger until it's the size that we want, the size of our full book. Come up here to pattern options. Again, a ton more customizability here. If we wanted to make a pattern, you click here, do whatever type of pattern you want to do, and then that's pretty much as much customizability as you have. Again, kind of bittersweet, as I've kind of just been saying. There's a ton of customizability, almost too much customizability. That's just how I feel. If that's your thing, go for it, but it almost feels like this is too much. And even the fact that width is down to the tiniest decimal point, just, it's so precise here on Bookbolt now, which I'm kind of into, but at the same time slightly scared of. Anyway, go ahead and edit it however much you want, create whatever sort of pattern you want. It can be really fun. I love the patterns, I always will. So make sure to use patterns and customize them to however you desire. And then we've got over here in masks. Okay, I just want to say I think it's really cute how they like made this little mask. Over here it's kind of this little layering design. So over here in masks, we're gonna do something kind of fun. First off, let me give you a quick look at this. I'm going to go ahead and push this to the back so I can edit the stuff on top now. It is really helpful how you can see the layers over here. It's something that you might not think comes in handy, but if you start creating a book that has a lot of designs on top, a lot of elements, a lot of different text, it's going to help a lot. Or you can just come here and send it to the back and it'll do it there as well. All right, let's go ahead and get rid of my nightmare at the moment. I'm going to put another heading here. Also, something I just noticed, you can even edit these grid lines here. Like if you just want to edit one of them, like this weird wonky way, you can do that. So that's what I'm saying. I feel like this is too much customizability. I feel like you shouldn't be able to screw up the grid lines like this, but that's just my personal opinion. It can be seen as a good thing if you want it to. So we're gonna pop over to mask, and it's ultimately the same as this. It is a little bit different. Let's pop over to images. I just typed in cute pattern, and I think this is gorgeous, this design that's on Pixabay. So I'm going to bring it here and stick it in front of notebook. Let's head over to mask. All right, you're going to want to have the text selected, and I'll come over here and select the image behind it and then click create mask. And here's how it does it. If you wanted to do, for example, gold foil, because that's something that you can't do in Canva easily without like a ton of workarounds. So we can come here and we can grab this guy, do the whole thing again, create mask, and here we go. This can look super pretty. You just want to be careful with foil like this because people who don't really understand how Amazon KDP works and how the printing process works and who try to buy your books, they might get your book and then realized that this wasn't textured like they thought it might be. So that is something to be aware of with masks. Anyway, I gave you a quick little feel for how to use masks. Make sure you already have something selected before going into it. You're gonna want to have the text selected and then click the image over here to do the mask, which is pretty much the same way it worked here if I remember correctly. It might be a little different. Ultimately over here it's a little user friendly, and I mean, come on, we've got this cute little mask. It's already a lot cuter. Also, I'm just gonna note this now really quickly. The Book Bolt Design Studio, it does still have a few bugs. The Book Bolt team, they are still trying to work out a few kinks. It's still very usable, but there are a few things, like for example, if I just click this design and I click duplicate, it doesn't align anymore with the grid. It's just on its own separate plane. So that's like a little bug that I just discovered. You may discover some more of them. Also, I believe this is another new feature over here on text. I was just editing this notebook. You can come over to the background color, and for example, let's say I want white. I just click OK, and there we go, and it automatically created this lovely background for me. And also, you can move around these whole things and then just close them out if you want, so they will pop up back over there. Give it a shadow even, maybe some blur, though that does just change it to the background. Also, for how customizable Book Bolt is, it's kind of surprising that you can't edit that little box. Unless I'm totally missing it, I very well could be, but I much prefer like my little box, if I were to have one, to be a little bit bigger, not this conformed to the text. So I do find that interesting. There are a few things I think that Book Bolt needs to change to make this a really comprehensive tool, but right now I think it's excellent for what it does, especially in comparison to this old designer. Now, the last thing I'm going to show you on the cover, at least over here in the distress effects, there are some new ones. It doesn't seem too terribly different from the old distress effects. Like, they had a bunch here and it seems like they have almost the same amount. I counted, there are just a few more, and this is something that Canva doesn't have. They've got something similar but not quite like this, so this is a fun touch. If you want to create more of a distress vibe for your books, then by all means, it can be really fun to do to your designs. And again, I can go ahead and move the notebook text up so that's above the distressing, so that's kind of a fun little touch there. And obviously, I do want to note this notebook is not very cute. I'm more just trying to show you the tools, not create the best notebook, but you can create some lovely designs in here. I don't want to be misleading there. You can create some great designs with all the new tools that Book Bolt has. A lot more so than I feel like you could with this. I feel like the old Book Bolt designer, it was really hard to create anything that looked really good, especially with how minimal everything was over here. The options were so much fewer, and yet over here, it just feels like it's a lot simpler. It's more designed to help you succeed, which is ultimately what you want. All right, here is my slight nightmare of a cover. Now I'm going to show you the coolest things about these interior pages. Before Book Bolt, they have their Interior Designer Pro. That's kind of as far as it goes, but you can also create your own interior as well, though it looks almost the same thing as the cover. You just edit your odd and even pages, and that's about as far as customizability gets you. And then we've also got the Interior Pro over here, which just allows you to choose which pages you want and where, which is kind of nice, but naturally it could stand to be a lot better. And that is where the lovely, lovely interior pages come in. It is so awesome that you can edit them individually. And now I'm just going to show you guys these page templates because they are so cool. There are a ton of new ones here, and I believe that for these puzzle ones, you'll need to have the Puzzle Whiz tool as well. I'm not sure about that. That's what I heard. Could be wrong, but it looks like there are a lot of the same interiors as in the interior generator, but there are a lot of new ones as well. Like, I've not seen this inventory list right here. Looks like they might be missing a T at the end of that list. Anyway, they've got a lot of fun designs now, and you'll note how some of them are in color. Let's just go ahead and grab this one. So first off, you'll notice there are two different variants. We've got from January to June and then from July to December. Obviously, for this type of template, you are going to want both of them. So let's start by selecting this, and up here we can select all odd or select all even. In this case, we're going to want to select all odd, January to June cleaning journal, and so that when I click next, and then I can edit this here if I want. I can edit the margins, edit the fit method, and I think I would like centered on the paper, so I'll go ahead and submit that. And within like 3 seconds again, it just populated all of this, which is super awesome. And now let's go back and worry about that second page template. So we're going to come here, pop on back down to where it was. All right, here it is. Now we're going to grab this, and now we're going to go ahead and select all even pages. So now that is going to select all of the rest of them. So then it works. We go from January all the way to December. You probably wouldn't want a book like this. It would probably take forever to fill it up. 2 pages is a whole year, but you get the concept. So I'm going to come here and click next again. Same options. And there we are. So we've got this page, and then it goes into this page. And that just repeats for the rest of the 120 pages. However, we did say we were creating a black and white book. So if we wanted to make this truly black and white, we'd select this. One thing to note, you can't edit the page template specifically. You can't, for example, change the word January. You can't change the fonts here. That's not an option yet. That'd be really cool if that's an option in the future. But at the moment, it's not like Canva in that sense, but Canva also doesn't have a bunch of interior pages you can edit in this way either. So again, it's kind of one of those things that's a little bittersweet. So we're going to come over to effects, and here we can play with the colors a whole bunch. As you can see, and make them however we want. We're going to do it grayscale. And now this automatically makes it so it works if we choose the black and white interior inside KDP. However, you will note that the rest of these pages are colors. To fix that, what we're going to want to do is pop over here and right click on this page. You're going to want to click clone this page to others. And here it pops it up. Again, we're going to want to select all the odd pages, and it'll clone. And then they become this grayscale just like this one. And then we can repeat that process just by coming here again, going to grayscale, and then clone this page to others. And then you're going to choose again, select even. And now everything's grayscale. I wish there were a way to do this a little more automatically. It is a little bit of a pain to make all the pages match, but there's certainly still some decent workarounds. Also, I wasn't sure if this was something that you were noticing. If you look here, the lines look kind of funky, like really bad, but it's just because they're so thin. If we zoom in like this, it'll show you that they're just fine. All right, now let's play with one of the cooler page templates. We've got all these really cool puzzles. Like for example, let's grab this rectangular maze right now. We can select all the pages to do rectangular mazes everywhere. We'll just go ahead and get rid of the cover. So now you'll see here, we've got a lot more options for how we can edit this. Same margins, but we can go ahead and edit the stroke width. That will just change how thick the lines are. So we can make that even thicker, change the line color to say black, like so. Horizontal size, vertical size, I'll leave that be. And now we'll submit. And here they all are, and every single maze is different, which is super duper cool. And you can still edit some of those other things, like let's say, you know, like I want this to be a mint colored maze. Now you can go ahead and do that, or maybe like a dark purple. Totally up to you, but we're gonna just stick with black for now. So that's awesome, and there's just so much more customizability. And for example, let's say we want to do a word search. We can select all, get rid of this guy. Tons of different options. We can add cells, make it more complicated, use random words or sentences if not meeting the file's requirements. So you can add in your own words with, I believe, a CSV file, which is essentially an Excel file. You can even add the solution, and that'll add those at the end. I'm not going to show you that right now, but you can just see there's just so many different ways you can customize. And it's helpful too because you don't have to automatically download it like this. Like if you want to go crazy and totally screw everything up, make it wonky, then you can do that. Even change the opacity. You have so many different options, which I cannot stress enough with this new Book Bolt Design Studio. All right, I've about summed this up. I am going to show you just one last main feature that is literally one of the coolest things I've ever seen. All right, so I found this cute image off of Vect Easy. I'm just going to use this to show you. All right, are you ready to see probably one of the coolest features in the new Book Bolt Design Studio? It's not in the old Book Bolt Designer, not even in Canva. You probably won't even find it in just about any tool. So you are going to want to make sure you've got your image selected. Come up here to this little flower icon. It says outline image when you hover over it. Go ahead and click that, and boom, it outlines the image, and it essentially turns it into a really cute coloring page. Super simple. There are a ton of ways to do this manually. I haven't seen any way that can do it quite automatically like this. So big brownie points for Book Bolt. This is awesome. A super great tool for if you want to create coloring book pages. However, there is a caveat. It is really hard to find images that work well to do this. I literally went through 3 different images trying to show you guys. And finally I found this one, and I think it's cute. See over here, if you grab grab this pigeon, for example, and come up here to outline image, it creates this monstrosity, which is absolutely not what we want. We want something like this. You can't really color this guy in. When selecting an image, it has to have really clear black lines. I think the issue with this pigeon here is just the fact that they're not super clear and bold, and they're not very consistent either. Like right here, it doesn't look as much like there's as thick of a line, and I think that just kind of throws it off. So it's great for a lot of designs, but not for all of them, like this one, or for this elephant, or even this Rudolph that I totally thought was going to work, but when I did it, it created this monstrosity, which close, but not quite close enough. And one last thing, I think this is kind of still in testing, but you can create your own connect dots puzzle, edit it however you want, and then you just come over here and then you click along your design wherever you want the dots, and it will put them in there for you. It doesn't always work super well. Like for example, if you create super small ones like this, they're just going to overlap. But for simpler designs, this is an option you can use. Voila. It's not very easy to see at the moment. And now wrapping up, we've got a couple options here at the top. Project, we can down this project as RGB or CMYK. Go with CMYK. This is for print books. RGB is for ebooks. You can clone this project even if you want to create pretty much the same exact thing. Just edit it a little bit, rename it, delete it, new project. You can go to my projects. So here is the one that I've been working on. And that about sums it up. If I were to give just a quick summary of this new Book Bolt Design Studio, if anything, I say it's got a prettier interface. It's more user-friendly. There's not a ton that's different, but the things that are different, I think, make this tool a total game changer. Like the biggest things being that it's got the Amazon KDP guidelines. The interior is awesome. I absolutely love how you can do the outline images, how you can add the dot to dot on the top. There's just a lot, and I think it's really cool. For me personally, I still absolutely love Canva. It's gonna be really hard to get me to change that. I'll probably still use Canva for my covers, but for my interiors, I'm definitely going to keep coming back to Book Bolt because they've made it just so much easier to create a bunch of interiors, especially for puzzles. I do want to work more on activity books, and Book Bolt, they just make it so simple here. And I think that's like the coolest thing ever. So make sure to check out the new Book Bolt Design Studio. Again, just come to the old Book Bolt Designer, come here to try the Book Bolt Studio, and then it'll pop up right here for you. Alright everyone, that's about it. Thanks so much for watching this video. I hope that it helped you. I hope that it taught you all about the lovely new Book Bolt Design Studio. Let me know what you think down in the comments. I'm really curious to hear you guys' thoughts on this. I think it's a really awesome tool. I'm definitely still going to be using Canva for a lot of things, but the Book Bolt Design Studio definitely has a lot of features, especially for interiors. I am absolutely going to be using it for my interiors, and I am very excited about it. Also, don't forget, if you don't have a Book Bolt subscription yet, make sure to go down and click the link in the description. Use my coupon code Sarah20 for 20% off your first month. Book Bolt is such an amazing tool for keywords, niche research, and now design as well, in my opinion. So make sure to go and check that out. And if you liked this video, please give it a big thumbs up and subscribe to my channel for more content just like this. I would super duper appreciate it, and I would love to have you. Alright guys, I hope you have a fabulous rest of your day. Bye!